You open a single drawer in your kitchen, the one by the stove. You reach for a wooden spoon and your hand brushes past the garlic press you used once, the whisk from a recipe you tried years ago, the peeler that never worked quite right. You find the spoon. You close the drawer. You do not think about the rest. There is a bundle of nerves at the base of your brain called the reticular activating system. It filters out what repeats, what stays the same, so your mind does not drown in information every time you walk through your own door. Clutter that sits in the same spot long enough becomes invisible, not gone. Invisible. Your brain decided it was part of the walls. My name is Keiko Tanaka. I am 78 years old. I have lived in a small wooden house in Kanazawa, Japan for over 50 years, and I spent 20 of those years studying danshari, the practice of letting go, at a temple near my home. I know what it is like to live in a house so full you cannot see what you have. And I know what it takes to see it again. There is a reason it feels hard to let go of things, even when you know you do not need them. The pain of losing something is stronger than the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. Your brain weighs loss heavier than gain. It is not a character flaw. It is how we are built. I kept a kimono for 15 years after it no longer fit. Beautiful indigo silk, hand-dyed, that I bought in my 40s. I paid more than I should have. I kept it hanging in the back of my closet long after I could not wear it, because every time I thought about giving it away, I felt the loss of what I had paid, not the loss of the kimono itself, the loss of the money. That is the sunk cost trap. You hold on to things because you invested money in them, not because they serve you now. The kimono was not keeping me warm. It was taking up space and reminding me of a purchase I regretted. But I could not let it go because my mind kept whispering, "You paid so much for this." One afternoon I finally took it down, folded it, and brought it to a consignment shop. A young woman bought it the next week and sent me a photograph of herself wearing it to a festival. The kimono found someone who could wear it, and I found space in my closet for clothes I actually put on. Letting go is not loss. It is making space for what you actually need. The closet in your bedroom is crammed full. Every time you open the door, something shifts or falls. You push it back in, close the door quickly, tell yourself you will deal with it later. That closet is not full of things. It is full of decisions you did not make. You bought a sweater 3 years ago that never quite fit right. You did not return it because you thought you might lose weight. You did not donate it because you paid $60. You did not throw it away because it is still good condition. So you hung it in the closet and shut the door. That sweater is not clutter. It is a decision you postponed. The same with the shoes that hurt your feet, the book you started and never finished, the kitchen gadget you used once. Each went into a drawer, a closet, a cabinet, because you did not know what to do with it. Keep it or let it go. That is a hard question. So you chose the third option. You put it away and did not think about it. But the closet remembers. Every item you shoved behind that door is still there, waiting. The closet became a graveyard of unmade choices. I did this for years. I had a drawer in my kitchen full of utensils I never used. A whisk I bought for a recipe I tried once. A garlic press harder to clean than just using a knife. Every time I opened that drawer to find a spoon, I had to push past all the things I did not need. I saw them. I knew they did not belong, but I did not remove them, because that would mean deciding what to do with them. So I left them there and shut the drawer. One day I realized the weight I felt every time I opened that drawer was not the weight of the objects. It was the weight of the decisions I had been carrying for years. You feel it too, every time you open the closet, Every time you pull open that jammed drawer, you are not just looking at clutter. You are looking at all the choices you deferred, and your mind knows it. The closet door is not hiding your clutter. It is hiding your unfinished business. You have seen the advertisements. Beautiful wicker baskets lined up on a shelf. Clear plastic bins with labels in perfect handwriting. Drawer dividers that promise to transform chaos into order. It will not work. Organizing is not the same as decluttering. When you buy bins and baskets to organize what you already have, you are not solving the problem. You are arranging it into prettier piles. The problem is not that your things are disorganized. The problem is that you have too many things. I see this often. A woman buys 3 large storage bins for her closet. She fills them with clothes she does not wear, shoes that hurt her feet, scarves she forgot she owned. She slides the bins onto the shelf, closes the closet door, and feels satisfied. Look how organized everything is now. But nothing left the house. The volume did not shrink. She simply gave herself permission to keep more by making it look tidy. The bins became a place to store her postponed decisions in neat rows. I did this myself when I was younger. I bought beautiful wooden boxes to organize the kitchen counter. One for tea packets, one for receipts, one for small tools. The boxes looked lovely, but I was still keeping tea I never drank and receipts from 3 years ago. The clutter was just hidden inside something attractive. One afternoon I emptied all the boxes onto the table. Half of what I was keeping was useless. Old batteries, dried up pens, instructions for appliances I no longer owned. I had been organizing trash. I threw most of it away. Then I put the few things I actually needed back into one small box. The other boxes sat empty for weeks before I finally gave them to a neighbor. You must reduce the volume first. Go through what you have. Decide what serves you and what does not. Let go of what you do not need. Only then should you think about organizing what remains. And you will find you need far fewer containers than you thought. The advice you have heard is to pull everything out of the closet and spread it across the floor. Empty the whole space so you can see what you have. Sort it all at once. That rarely ends well. When you empty an entire closet onto your bed or floor, you do not create clarity. You create chaos. You are standing in a room full of clothes, boxes, shoes, bags, scattered across every surface. And now you have to decide what to do with each piece, one by one, hundreds of them. Your mind looks at that mountain and feels the weight of every decision you have to make. Each choice takes energy. After an hour, your energy is gone, but the pile is still there. You start shoving things back into the closet just to clear the floor. Nothing left the house. You just moved it around and made yourself tired. I did this once when I was in my 50s. I pulled every piece of clothing out of my bedroom closet and piled it on the tatami mats. I was going to go through all of it and finally let go, but after 2 hours I had made almost no progress. I kept picking up the same items, putting them in the donate pile, then taking them back out. The decisions felt too big. I could not see the end, so I folded most of it back into the closet. There is a better way. You do not need to pull everything out. You work section by section, one shelf, one drawer, one small area you can finish in a single sitting. Take a cardboard box or cloth bag and set it beside you. That is your donate box. Open the top shelf of the closet. Look at what is there. Pick up each item. Ask yourself if you have used it in the last year. If the answer is no, put it in the donate box. If you are not sure, leave it for now. Work through that one shelf. When it is done, close the closet and walk away. You finished a section. That is enough. The next day or the next weekend, do the same with the second shelf, one section at a time. If you need to stop, you stop. The rest of the closet is still closed. You are not leaving a disaster spread across your floor. I learned to work this way after that failed attempt. I started with the top shelf of my kitchen cabinet. It took 20 minutes. I pulled out 3 bowls I never used and a set of chopsticks that had been a gift but did not feel right in my hand. I put them in a bag and took it to the donation center that afternoon. The next week I worked on the second shelf. It took 6 weeks to finish the whole cabinet, but I finished, and nothing ever piled up on the floor. You do not need an explosive weekend where you tear apart your whole house. You need a method you can stop and restart. 1 drawer, 1 shelf, 1 small decision at a time. Slow is not failure. Slow is sustainable. When a room is so full you cannot see the floor, you stand in the doorway and look at the piles of laundry, the stack of boxes, the bag of shoes you meant to sort weeks ago. Everything is everywhere, and your mind tells you there is no way through it. There is. You just have to cross it the right way. Imagine you are standing at the top of a ski slope. You do not go straight down the fall line. You would lose control and crash. Instead, you traverse. You cut across the slope in horizontal lines, corner to corner, working your way down in sections you can handle. That is how you cross a cluttered room. You start in one corner. Pick a wall, the north wall by the window. You work from the left corner all the way across to the right corner. You pick up everything in that zone. Clothes go to the hamper. Trash goes to the trash. Books go back to the shelf. You do not move to the center yet. You finish the north wall first. That first pass might take 40 minutes. When it is done, you can see the floor along the entire north wall. You have cleared a strip of space from one side to the other, and you can stop there if you need to. You finished a zone. The room is not clean yet, but you made real progress. The next day, or later that afternoon, you make the second pass. You move to the middle of the room, start at the left wall again, and traverse all the way to the right. Pick up everything in that strip. Sort it, put it away. When that pass is done, you have cleared half the room. Then the third pass, the south wall from left to right. When you're finished, the entire floor is clear. You cross the room in 3 manageable sections instead of fighting through all of it at once. I used this method in my own bedroom years ago when I let the laundry pile up. There were clothes on the floor, on the chair, draped across the end of the bed. I could not see where the clean ended and the dirty began. I stood in the doorway and felt the weight of it. Then I thought about crossing a slope. I started at the window wall. I picked up every piece of clothing along that wall, sorted it into piles, folded what was clean, and took what was dirty to the wash. It took half an hour. When I finished, I had a clear strip of floor from the window to the door. I stopped there. The rest of the room was still a mess, but that one zone was done. The next morning I made the second pass across the middle. Another half hour. 2/3 of the floor was clear. The third pass along the bed finished it. I had crossed the whole room without ever feeling overwhelmed. Each pass was small enough to complete. I never looked at the whole disaster. I just worked the zone in front of me. That is the power of the ski slope method. It turns a space that feels impossible into a series of small tasks you can actually finish. You traverse it section by section, and you stop whenever you need to without leaving chaos behind. You spent weeks working through the closet. You cross the cluttered room in careful passes. The floor is clear. The shelves are lighter. You can see what you have again. And then, 3 months later, the clutter is back. It creeps in slowly. A new pair of shoes, a jacket you bought on sale, a book someone gave you, a kitchen gadget you saw online. Each item walks through the door alone, but they add up. And one morning you open the closet and realize it is full again. The problem is not that you let things go. The problem is that you never changed what comes in. If you declutter but keep bringing new things into the house at the same rate, you are just emptying a bucket with the faucet still running. The volume will return. There is a simple rule that stops this. One in, one out. For every new item that enters your home, one like item must leave. You buy a new shirt. You donate an old shirt. You bring home a new book. You let go of a book you already read. A new skillet means the scratch one goes to the donation center. One in, one out. Like for like. This is not about deprivation. You are not forbidden from having new things. You are just keeping the volume constant. Your closet holds 20 shirts. If you want to buy a 21st, you choose one of the 20 you already own and let it go. The total stays the same. The clutter does not grow back. I started practicing this rule about 10 years ago. I had worked for months to clear out my closets, my cabinets, my storage boxes. The house felt lighter. But I noticed that within a year, the shelves were filling up again. I was still buying things, small things mostly. A new tea bowl, a pair of slippers, a scarf I saw at the market. Each purchase seemed harmless, but they were accumulating, so I made the rule for myself. If I brought something new into the house, something old had to leave the same day. I bought a new rice bowl. I took an old one, still perfectly good, and gave it to my neighbor. I bought a winter coat. I donated the one I had been wearing for 5 years. One in, one out. At first it felt restrictive. I would see something I wanted, and then remember I would have to let something go. But that pause, that moment of thinking, do I want this enough to release something I already have, became a filter. It made me more careful about what I brought home. I bought less, and what I did buy, I valued more, because I had made space for it deliberately. The rule keeps the volume stable. It prevents the slow creep of accumulation that undoes all the work you did. And it works because it is automatic. You do not have to remember to declutter again in 6 months. You do it in real time, item by item, as new things arrive. You do not need to apply this rule to everything. Groceries come and go. Consumables like soap and toilet paper do not count. This is for the things that stay. Clothes, books, kitchen tools, furniture, the objects that take up permanent space in your home. Mailman, one out. It is the rule that keeps the clutter from coming back. 5 minutes. That is all you need. Not an hour, not a whole afternoon. 5 minutes every single day, and the clutter will not come back. Set a timer. When the timer starts, you walk through the house and pick things up. But you do not just move them to another surface. You put them all the way away. The coffee mug sitting on the counter goes into the cabinet, not onto the table. The coat draped over the chair goes onto the hook in the closet, not onto the back of another chair. The book on the arm of the sofa goes back to the shelf, not onto the stack by the television. All the way away to its actual home. This is not tidying. Tidying is moving things around so the room looks cleaner. You are returning each object to the place it lives. The scissors go back into the drawer. The shoes go into the closet. The mail gets sorted and filed or thrown away. Everything you pick up goes to its final destination, not to a temporary stop along the way. Most clutter does not start as clutter. It starts as one thing you set down and meant to put away later. The jacket you took off when you came inside. The keys you dropped on the counter. The bag you left by the door. Each of those things is not clutter yet. It is just out of place. But when you leave it there for a day, and then another day, and then a week, it stops being a temporary stop. It becomes part of the landscape, and then another thing lands next to it, and the pile grows. The 5-minute routine stops that from happening. You catch the out-of-place things before they settle. You intercept them while they are still just objects that wandered, not permanent features of the room. I have been doing this for more than 15 years now. Every evening before I go to bed, I set a timer for 5 minutes. I start in the kitchen. I put the cutting board back in the drawer. I wipe down the counter and return the cloth to its hook. I check the table for anything that does not belong. Then I move to the entryway. I hang up any coats. I line up the shoes. I sort the mail that came that afternoon. By the time the timer goes off, the kitchen and entryway are clear. The house is ready for the next morning. It does not feel like work because it is only 5 minutes. I am not cleaning. I am not scrubbing or reorganizing. I am just putting things back. And because I do it every day, the things I am putting back are always small. A few dishes, a pair of shoes, a book. Nothing ever piles up enough to become a project. That is the power of 5 minutes. It is short enough that you will actually do it. You do not need energy. You do not need to be in the mood. You just need 5 minutes. And because you do it every day, the messes never grow large enough to require an hour later. The trick is to do it at the same time every day. I do mine in the evening. You might do yours in the morning, before you leave, or right when you come home from work. It does not matter when. What matters is that it becomes automatic. The timer goes off. You spend 5 minutes. You are done. And after a few weeks you will notice the house feels lighter. Not because you did one big cleaning session, because you never let the clutter settle in the first place. You intercepted it every day, 5 minutes at a time. This is not about perfection. You do not need a spotless house. You just need a house where everything has a place and you spend 5 minutes a day making sure things return to those places. 5 minutes every day, all the way away. My grandmother grew up in the years after the war, when nobody had much of anything. She lived in a small house with my grandfather, my mother, and my aunt, 4 people, 6 tatami mats, 1 low table, a few bowls and cups, a pot for rice, a brazier for heat. She kept everything she owned in a single wooden chest against the wall. She practiced matanai without calling it that. It was just how everyone lived. You did not waste. You did not throw away what could still be used. You mended clothes until the fabric gave out. You saved string. You reused paper. Not because it was virtuous, because there was not enough to be careless with. When I was a young wife, I accumulated. Everyone did in those years. The economy grew. Stores filled with things we had never seen before. Appliances, furniture, decorations for every season. I bought them because I could, because it felt like progress, because a full house meant you were doing well. I filled my closets. I filled my cabinets. I bought dishes I used once a year. I kept clothes that no longer fit because they were expensive. I had 3 sets of bedding when I only needed 1. I owned more kitchen tools than my grandmother had owned objects in her entire life, and I was tired. Every drawer I opened required me to sort through things I did not need to find the one thing I did. Every closet was a puzzle of where to fit the next purchase. Every surface had something sitting on it, waiting for me to decide where it belonged. One afternoon I visited my grandmother. She was in her 80s then, still living in the same small house. I brought her tea from the city. We sat together on the tatami mats. The house was just as I remembered it. Simple, spare, the wooden chest against the wall, a few bowls drying by the sink. Nothing extra. I looked around and realized something. She was not poor. She had enough. And she was not tired. She was at peace. That was when I understood. A full house is not the same as a rich life. The tiredness I felt was not from working too hard. It was from owning too much. Every object I kept required space, attention, care. decisions, and most of them gave nothing back. My grandmother owned a fraction of what I had accumulated, but she knew where everything was. She used everything she owned. Nothing sat waiting in a drawer for some day. She had enough. And enough was freedom. I started letting go after that visit. Slowly. One drawer at a time. One closet over months. I gave away the dishes I never used. I donated the clothes that no longer fit. I sold the decorations I had bought to fill empty space. It took me years. But as the house emptied, I felt lighter. The tiredness lifted. The constant background hum of too much finally went quiet. Enough is not deprivation. It is not poverty. It is not doing without. Enough is owning what serves you and letting go of what does not. It is the point where you stop managing your possessions and start living in your home. My grandmother understood that. She lived it every day without thinking about it. She kept what she needed and nothing more. And because of that, she was never burdened by the weight of excess. She was free. That is what your grandmother knew. That is what mine taught me, not with words, but by the way she lived. And that is what I am passing to you now. You do not need to own as little as she did. You do not need to live on 6 tatami mats. But you do need to find your own enough. The point where you have what you need and use, and you are not carrying the weight of everything you do not. That is not something you find by buying more organizing bins. It is something you find by letting go, one object at a time, one decision at a time, until the house feels light again. Until you can open a drawer and find what you need, without moving 6 other things out of the way first. Your grandmother knew that a life weighed down by possessions is not a rich life. It is an exhausting one. And she knew that the peace of a spare home is worth more than a closet full of things you might use someday. So this weekend, when you start working through that one drawer, remember her. Remember what she knew about enough. And let that guide you as you decide what stays and what goes. This weekend, pick one drawer, just one, open it, take out everything inside, and set it on the table. Put a cardboard box or cloth bag beside you. That is your donate box. Pick up each item. Ask yourself when you last used it. If the answer is more than a year ago, put it in the donate box. If you are not sure, leave it on the table for now. Work through the whole drawer. When you are done, put back only what you kept. Close the drawer. Take the donate box to the donation center this week. Do not let it sit by the door for a month. Finish the task all the way through. Tonight, before you go to bed, set a timer for 5 minutes. Walk through your kitchen and entryway. Pick things up and put them all the way away. Not on another counter, not on another chair. Back to where they live. Do this every night. 5 minutes. That is all. Now I want to ask you something. What is the one thing you have been holding on to that you know you should release? Maybe it is a coat that does not fit. Maybe it is a box of papers from a job you left years ago. Maybe it is something you inherited and feel guilty letting go of. You know what it is. Leave a comment and tell me. Sometimes naming it out loud is the first step toward letting it go. Next week I will show you how a Japanese home stays clean with almost no effort, not by working harder, by building small daily rituals into the rhythm of your life. It is the natural next step after today. Go work on that one drawer. Start the 5-minute routine tonight. Let go of what you have been carrying. Letting go is not loss. It is kindness to your future self. The people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.